15 years ago, Kevin Stanford was forced to disappear from the life of the young gorilla he rescued and raised like family. For Tara, his sudden absence felt like betrayal, one that left her silent, distant, and unwilling to trust anyone again. But fate had its own plan, and when Kevin returned, he didn't beg. He simply stayed quietly, like before. Just wait until you see how this powerful reunion unfolded, and why, after all those years, justice found its way back. Kevin Stanford had seen many eyes in his years working in the field, but none like hers. It was 15 years ago, deep in the humid, buzzing green of the Congolese rainforest. He was just 24 then, a newly minted field agent with a wildlife conservation group, full of purpose but unprepared for what he was about to witness. She was small, smaller than he'd imagined a young gorilla would be. Skin stretched too tightly across her ribs, limbs trembling from dehydration. Her fur was patchy, her fingers wrapped around nothing. She sat by a fallen log in complete stillness, as if time had abandoned her. Her name didn't exist yet. She was just a number in a seized trafficking report. But to Kevin, she became everything. What stopped him cold, even before the horror sank in, was her eyes. They didn't flinch when she looked at him, didn't plead, didn't accuse. They were hollow, not in the sense of emptiness, but in the way a room feels after something sacred has been lost inside it. She had seen her mother killed, that much was certain. The clearing still smelled of gunpowder and fear. Yet the baby gorilla didn't cry. She just stared. It wasn't fear, it was silence, the kind that follows when faith is broken. Kevin knew he couldn't leave her. Protocols or not, papers or not, he made it his mission. Through contacts and persistent negotiation, he secured her release from the trafficker's custody, transporting her with quiet urgency to a rehabilitation camp where time moved differently, where wounds weren't just cleaned, but slowly unlearned. He fed her mashed fruit with a plastic spoon, one hand gently stroking the back of her knuckles. He hummed the same melody at night, so she knew the world still had rhythm. He stayed outside her enclosure for hours, just breathing near her, letting her know she wasn't alone. When she grew strong enough to walk, she followed him. When she first laughed, a low, breathy sound he hadn't known gorillas could make, it startled them both. He laughed with her, cried in private. Slowly, she trusted him, slept near him, touched his beard with wonder. They became, in every sense that mattered, a bond. Two beings fused not by biology, but by survival. But rescue centers don't make space for sentiment. 1 year later, Tara, now with a name, a stronger gait, and brighter eyes, was transferred to a protected sanctuary in Kenya. It was a move designed for her well-being, a transition into the wild, where human contact would undo progress. Kevin was told he couldn't say goodbye. He stood in the transport hangar, watching the crate disappear into a vehicle, holding back the urge to run. After that, he stopped looking at photos, never watched the release videos. He buried her memory the way people do when remembering hurts more than forgetting. Except for one thing, a clipped newspaper article, folded and worn, kept in his wallet for 15 years. Orphaned gorilla joins wild troop, climbs first tree, new name Tara. In the years that followed, Kevin worked in Brazil, Madagascar, Sumatra, always with animals, always with care. But inside him, there was a quiet that never filled. Until one afternoon, a message arrived, a plain white envelope, no return address. Typed in simple font, "We located your name through old records. Tara is aging. She refuses interaction. She hasn't made eye contact with staff in over a year. We're reaching out because maybe you remember her." His hands trembled, not from nerves, but from something deeper. That single moment, just reading her name, was enough to unravel 15 years of silence. Kevin's plane touched down in Kenya just past dawn. The sky was washed in soft orange, but inside him, there was no light, only silence. The kind of silence that doesn't come from lack of words, but from the overwhelming weight of memories pressing in from all directions. At the gates of the sanctuary, Jennifer Harrison stood waiting. Director, biologist, reserved, composed. But when she saw him, her posture betrayed something deeper, a hesitation, a disbelief. "You really came," she said quietly. Not a question, not a welcome, just wonder. No one had expected him to show. Not after 15 years, not after so long without a word. "She's changed," Jennifer said as she led him through the shaded paths of the facility. "Doesn't respond to handlers, doesn't engage with the troop. She's fading." Kevin didn't ask questions. He just walked. Every step closer to the enclosure made the silence inside him louder. Then there she was, Tara. She sat alone at the far end of the habitat, still as carved stone, her back to the window, shoulders hunched, her gray-streaked fur dulled with age. Her frame thinner now, more fragile but unmistakable. It wasn't the body that broke him. It was the stillness, the absence of life in a creature once so vibrant. "She used to rush to the edge when anyone called," Jennifer said softly, her eyes fixed on the glass. "Now she barely blinks. We even tried showing her old footage. Nothing." Kevin stepped forward into the observation area. He didn't speak at first. Then he did, just one word. "Tara." Nothing happened. But then her fingers, they twitched, almost imperceptibly. A small curl, a muscle memory from long ago. He said it again, gently. No urgency. Just a whisper layered with years. "Tara." Still no movement, but the tension in her shoulders shifted. A slight lean, as if her body recognized something her mind couldn't yet name. The third time, his voice broke slightly. "Tara." She turned, slowly, as if afraid the past might vanish if she moved too fast. And in that single motion, the years dissolved, her eyes locked with his. There it was, recognition. Not a spark, not a flare, but a slow-building sunrise of understanding. Her limbs trembled as she stood. She moved toward the window, each step deliberate, her gaze never breaking. Kevin placed his hand flat against the glass. A breath passed, then another. Tara raised her arm, her finger stretched, tentative, worn, and mirrored his. Two palms, separated by time, by glass, by a world that had told them to forget. But they hadn't. For that moment, there was no sanctuary, no research, no space between them, only memory, only presence. They stayed like that for what felt like a lifetime, not crying, not moving, just being. Eyes locked, a silent exchange louder than any reunion could have been. Then her hand fell away. She turned, slowly, returned to the corner, and sat down with her back to him. Kevin blinked, trying to hold on to the moment. "What does it mean?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. Jennifer stood beside him, arms crossed gently, her expression unreadable. "It means she remembers," she said, "but she's scared. You weren't just a human to her. You were safety, warmth, everything good in a world that betrayed her." Kevin stared at Tara's silhouette, unmoving in the shadows. "And then," Jennifer added, "you disappeared. So now, you're not just memory, you're loss." He closed his eyes. She remembered him, but remembering hurt. Kevin didn't leave. He stayed at the sanctuary day after day, sitting quietly near her enclosure. He didn't call her name, didn't try to force her memory. He was just there, present, patient, as he had been all those years ago when she was broken and afraid. A week passed, then another. And then, one evening, as rain hammered the rooftops and wind howled through the trees like echoes from another time, something shifted. Tara moved. Slowly, she approached the gate. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper waking inside her. She opened her mouth, and a soft, strangled sound escaped. Part call, part memory. Kevin stood, walked into the rain without hesitation. Tara reached through the bars and wrapped her fingers around his. The grip was weak, deliberate, but it was real. Then she leaned forward and gently pressed her forehead to his chest. Kevin closed his eyes. The tears came quietly. "I never left you," he whispered. "I just couldn't stay." She looked up, and though she didn't smile the way humans do, there was something in her eyes, warm, steady, that said she understood. From that moment on, she changed. She began to eat again, moved more, sat near others. And one day, For the first time in 10 years, she let Jennifer gently touch her shoulder. Something had returned. Not just to Tara, but to both of them.